One. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Teany Hidalgo, your purpose coach, and today is your dose of high vibe, forward thinking, and revolutionary content that encourages you to discover the passions that lead to your purpose, aka what you love. And today I have a wonderful, wonderful guest, and I've had her once before, but upgrade, right? Upgrades.
Always.
We have Tatiana Vilarea. Did I say it right? Close.
I know
Close
it's
enough.
difficult. Valerea. Yeah.
Valeria. Okay. Awesome. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Hi there.
I'm so excited to have you here because this is a little bit of a departure from what I usually talk about, and I love it.
All right.
It's a little bit more
Thank you for having me.
etheric and out there, and I love it because it's so helpful and transformational for so many people. So I'm excited to talk about it and to talk about you and what you do. Okay, so just a reminder, guys, feel free to comment below. And if you have any questions for her, you can ask away now or you can ask away later. She will be available and I'll be available to send them to her. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Here we go. All right, so get a quick spiel on her. She is a transformational hypnotherapy specialist who uses a unique combination of hypnosis techniques to guide her clients through an expanded state of consciousness in order to overcome trauma, heal, and rewire their bodies from subconscious mind to the greater soul level so that they can radically transform their lives. Sounds like a lot, right? So her own journey led her to use this work to heal her own body from I can't wait to get into this part, from serious health conditions and let go of family trauma, release mental limitations, and overcome recurring situations and relationships in her life. And now she uses all of this goodness to empower her clients to free themselves from those traumatic memories and living in pain and fear and survival. I'm sure some of you can relate to all this stuff, right? So you can heal your body, your mind, and your emotions and create from the internal soulful resources in life. And so you can be excited to live. Did I cover it all, Tatiana? I think we can.
Well,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's always an evolution, right?
Yes, always evolving. So I'm so glad that you're back because I think that this is an amazing evolution for you. And it's an amazing moment for you to sort of showcase something new that you're working on that's really going to serve so many people who've gone through things. And so let's get into what it was and how it all came about. Let's start with your purpose and where you started. Like, how did this part of your journey, because we've spoken about some of your other work, how did this particular journey start and what fanned the flames of this particular transformational work?
Well, before we begin and get into my story, I really want to clarify that my approach to hypnosis is very different from most people's and most practitioners. I view hypnosis as a way to get into an expanded state of consciousness, shift awareness, perception, and obviously hypnosis is not sleep. And yes, it's a deep relaxation of the body and a deep focus of the mind, but that focus is expanded and shifted. My approach to hypnosis is soul work and basically realizing our highest potential, activating that highest potential. And in this process, using these expanded states of consciousness, we heal the trauma, reprogram the mind, heal the body. I work with transgenerational trauma, family trauma, relationship trauma, childhood trauma, sexual trauma, and medical trauma, and many other things. And so my journey began when I was 21 years old, and I was faced with a medical condition, which was a very quickly developing, basically I had quickly developing cancerous cells, and it was observed by the doctors for about a year and a half or two. And one day after the checkup, they called me and they said that I have to have the surgery like tomorrow. And so I was alone, a new immigrant, nobody in this country, facing cancerous changes on my cervix, and the surgery What it was supposed to do, it's called leap surgery. I'm sure many women know about this. And the surgery basically shaves off that layer of mutating cells, for some less, for some more, off of the cervix, and supposedly to stop the cells. However, what happened for me in the process was that even though the procedure took place, my doctor told me that they couldn't remove everything that needed to be removed. And so basically, what now I was facing, again, still, constant checkups, a constant going to the doctors, and basically continuing living in fear, in misery and survival, and hoping and wishing that the cancer would not develop. And just in case it was not enough, I realized that I developed complications from this surgery. And as I now know, these complications are very common. And I didn't know that all of this before. And what happened was, as a result of that surgery, and there is a lot of there is research about it. I've done, over 10 years by now of research on the topic, and what happened to me afterwards, and all the science about it. But I wouldn't go into all these details. I'll just make a separate video on this topic on my personal pages, and
Yeah,
anyone can go and visit and look.
absolutely. And
But
Tatiana,
basically,
the doctor never told you what complications might come from the surgery?
yes. So a little bit about the complications, but no, none of that is. None of this information is given to women up to this day. So women are given this procedure left and right, and yes, sometimes when it's necessary, but a lot of times just a precaution, and it's explained as it's a very common, quick, easy procedure done right at the office, even though, because my changes were so severe, I guess, and I had a full-blown surgery. But the interesting part is that women are not offered any other opportunities, solutions, alternatives, and women are not warned about the possible side effects. And so here's a little bit about the side effects. What I realized that I completely lost my libido, my ability to have orgasms, the connection, and there is science behind it all, the connection between the vagina, spinal cord, and the brain, through the pelvic nerves into the spinal cord and into the brain, was severed. I started having huge complications on a psychological level. It causes depression, it causes mental health issues, it causes a lot of things. And one of them that I also experienced, and I know many, many other people, women, thousands of people who are going through this right now, I also developed loss of creativity. Basically, I couldn't write papers in college. Right now, if you go to my Facebook, I write paragraphs of text and expression and everything.
How many years ago was that surgery now? How long has it been now?
Well, I was 21. I was turning 21 actually, and now I'm 32. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
And so my life, a part of the fear of the developing cancer, was complicated by all of this, and it was hell. And one thing I knew for sure, that I was not going to live like this. And I learned an important lesson in my life. I realized that I cannot give away my authority and my power of decisions for my health and my future to the medical establishment. And I had the surgery, developed all these complications, and I still needed to live in fear, and there was nothing offered, nothing else. And so I went on this long, long journey of healing. And of course, first of all, I needed to make sure that the cancer doesn't develop further. And I healed this issue much sooner than I healed the loss of orgasms, the creativity, the mental, the health, the psychological issues. And I went on a journey of my exploration of energy work, consciousness work. Yes, I tried the physical modalities, and it
Did the
was part of the
doctors
journey.
offer anything? Like, did they offer any
No,
way of
no,
recovery?
no, they don't. They don't. They basically tell you to go every half a year for checkups. But my complications were so severe. I developed not only all of what I described, I had pain all over my genital area. And when I realized that it hurts to sneeze,
Wow.
I realized I'm not going to live like this anymore.
No
And
way.
I went on a journey of exploration. I didn't
Yeah.
know where to go, what to do. I had to try everything. I tried, I don't know how many modalities, studying them and using them on my own. And it took me, and so I took care of the developing cancer, but it was much harder and much longer until I realized how I could heal myself in the department of my sexuality that was completely shut down. We're talking about inability to build relationships, inability to, psychological issues and
Yeah.
like mood swings. When you know that you can't, for women with like different reasons, different causes, but women with shut down sexuality often go through psychological issues because you are unplugged from the life force.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are unplugged from the life force.
Understandable.
The neurochemistry is not working anymore because the dopamine, oxytocin, and all the neurotransmitters and opioids that create the confidence, the power of the woman in her power, in her confidence, in self-love, it all gets interrupted. The inner pharmacy is not working anymore. And
Right.
so this was my story. And I was in
Incredible.
and everything changed 4 years after this, when I discovered the power of altered states of consciousness, of
Yeah.
the expanded states of consciousness. And I know to the day and to the time, using these states, when my body, my neurology was rewired and the connection between my vagina and my spinal cord and the brain was reinstalled and rewired. And not only I reversed that loss of libido, of sexuality, and all these issues, I increased them. And so not only I brought my on this search of lost orgasms, not only I got it all back, but I increased and basically turned into a highly multi-orgasmic woman. And I used these other states of consciousness,
That's
and
amazing.
my work with hypnosis developed from all of this. And not many people know about it because when I was going through all of this, except for people who were directly involved in my healing, like
Hmm.
doctors and whatever practitioners I went to work with, my parents, my family, my friends, my boyfriends, nobody knew about it. I was alone, and I was on a mission.
Yeah. I hope that the practitioners that you were working with were, I mean, obviously they offered you support for the condition, but also emotional support because they knew,
No,
you know.
no, no, no,
No?
no, because it's um, well, the women I know now in the groups who are sharing and speaking up about this, about the
Yeah.
side effects of this procedure, and many others. So important to note what I've discovered with my research, that it's not only the LEAP procedure, it's also any medical intervention to this area, which is like basically that causes damage to the pelvic nerves. The innervation is all different for all women. So
Right.
some women will say, oh, I had LEAP and nothing happened. But the thing is, it's very actually, it also connected to the very issue of, orgasms for women and why women, have these kind of orgasms, and for other women it would not work. And, the men's search for, how to please women.
Right.
Well,
Right.
the very reason it's so difficult, much more difficult, not so difficult, more different than from male physiology anatomy, is that the innervation of the organs inside the vagina is very individual for every woman. And
Right.
so for one woman, this surgery would not cause the damage to the nerves and loss of libido and, all this sensuality. And for some women, it will. And so I discovered that different types of incisions during labor, abortions, um, different, all the kind of surgical procedures for the uterus, the ovaries, the all the colposcopies, all of that can actually cause this damage. So this issue is much bigger than LEAP, and it has not been studied. And a lot of medical professionals will say that, hey, it's not proven, it's a lie. But actually, there is a paper that just came out this spring in April, and
Nice.
in a journal of I can put a comment, like a comment after.
Yeah, please do.
Journal of Sexology, that actually LEAP has implications for sexual dysfunction and sexual satisfaction,
Wow.
and other procedures too. Like, for example, like sling procedures for women who had that would know what it is. But it's a whole spectrum of it, and so
Does that include any uteral interventions, like when they remove it
yes.
and things like that? Yeah.
Everything that causes any interaction with the nerves, and depending on the innervation for every for every woman individually, and might not, but women are not warned about it, women are not treated for it. And a lot of women I know who are writing about these issues, and these issues are horrible. Reading about them every day, it just makes my heart cry. And the reason I'm coming out with my story is because I decided that I cannot be silent, because I've reversed it, and I want women to know it's reversible.
Yes, you're giving me chills. It's time. I feel like there's so much that women don't know. Like, this is completely new to me. I've heard of that procedure that you mentioned, but never, you never hear about the side effects. They just say, oh, just do it. It's okay. You'll be fine.
And there
Like,
is
it's
no research.
normal,
There is
it's
not enough
typical.
research. There is no long-term side effect, any kind of research on the topic.
Right. And it's such a crucial part of a woman's anatomy. Like, hello, it's what makes us,
Yes.
Insanity. So I'm so glad that you came forward with this, because this is such a pivotal time, especially with a lot
Thank you
of
for having
this
me.
energy coming out and sort of like being more empowered, right, in this day.
Well, even the very fact that I'm coming out about it would not be possible without my hypnotherapy work and using self-hypnosis and hypnotherapy. For my entire life, I was terrified of public speaking, being on camera, and I was like basically a social awkward person. Hated being in crowds, and still do. So the very fact that we are talking about it and I'm sharing for the first time this story would not be possible without this work and using hypnotherapy.
Absolutely.
But thank you.
Absolutely. So why do you think this work is so important and crucial now? I mean, it's really always been crucial, but now I feel like it's such a big time. Right?
You mean hypnotherapy?
Yeah,
Like
and the work that you're
consciousness work?
doing, how you're using it even, right now. Yeah.
Well, I think consciousness work has always been used. Trance
Yeah.
states, which is basically what hypnosis is. The neuroscience basically divides consciousness states between the regular awake state, the wakefulness state, sleeping and dreaming, and mystical experiences. I believe hypnotherapy and trance states are like a separate, state of consciousness. And I also think peak sexual experiences, the transcendental experiences, and using sexuality as the expander of consciousness, is also a separate state. And there is a parallel to all of it. But coming back to why is it important? I think it has always been there, important. Hypnotherapy was used in Egypt, the trance states and the shamanic rituals. It has been with us all along. And I really like, do you know the Stephen Kotler's book,
Sounds familiar.
Stealing Fire? I really love this book about the overview of this search for these altered states. And he's the flow state researcher. And so it's an amazing book when it shows that we are wired for these states, and we search for these states. Animals do, using different substances. The whole industry of virtual reality. And he gives examples of all the people in different industries, from Silicon Valley to Navy SEALs to different other people, seeking now how to get into these altered states of consciousness. Because, for example, I really like his research on creativity. And there is a parallel between my work with women now, using hypnotherapy to heal the sexual trauma and the medical trauma. That's what I do now. Because these transcendent states, what he calls the flow states, they all have similarities. And women who awaken their sexuality, women who use these altered states and sexual peak experiences, they notice the increase in creativity. And so he says in the flow states, creativity increases by 7 times 700%.
Whoa.
We are talking about completely different, way of living, being, working,
Incredible.
creating at work, in our lives, in our partnerships.
Absolutely.
Very different.
It's a way of channeling that creativity into the external world. I mean, that's how you do it,
Yeah.
So let's, before I get into some of the other questions, can you describe a little bit how it works?
Mm-hmm.
How you work with a client, like how do you get them into these states, just a general.
So as you know, I started my work with hypnotherapy with QHHT, with quantum healing hypnosis, Dolores Cannon's work. And we can talk a little bit about it later if you want. But it stopped being my only way long ago. And I use different techniques, combine all together. And not only hypnotherapy techniques, everything that I've gathered in this over 10 years of search and exploration of my healing and my, coming into my purpose, all of it is combined together. But all of my techniques and all of my tools are subconsciously targeted. So I don't do the surface work. I prefer to find the roots and the causes and the deeply seated traumas, and pay special attention to the negative emotional states that are, caused by them, and clearing it, clearing the body, reprogramming the mind, and therefore changing the mental state, the mindset, the beliefs, and so on and so forth. But it is synergy of multiple modalities that I studied. And that's why when people ask me, well, what is it that you do? It's so hard to explain. In the modality, I would say I developed my own method, and I now also work long-term in my programs with clients to create this change long-term, permanently, for different kinds of issues and traumas and, soul search.
Yeah. So, I mean, everyone's case is a little bit different. Some more extreme than others, some more, traumatic than others, if you will. Mm-hmm. How long does it take approximately for someone to go through your program and start seeing these changes? I'm guessing it's immediate, because it's, the inner workings of, your subconscious mind is so strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and before I answer this question, I actually wanted to ask you, because you were on the receiving end of the process. Yeah. And yes, there are statistics. According to statistics, it takes around 6 sessions to create this permanent change. If we're talking about like a changing of some belief structures and emotional state and mental state. And this is why I developed the long-term programs.
Right.
But I also worked before, when I started outside of these long-term processes, and there is immediate change. I believe I was on the receiving end of it. Actually, this rewiring of my body happened in one session. We don't know when that happened, when the session is going to happen.
Right.
And I also wanted to note, I had chronic pain, back pain, since 13 years old, maybe 12. It was healed. It was solved in one hypnotherapy session for me. And it was around 2016. Now we are hitting 2020. So it's
Yeah, yeah.
been a bunch of years. It never
And it
returned.
hasn't come back. Yeah.
No,
So I know that
no.
your work is concentrated on this area because it's, it's obviously near and dear to you. Do
Mhm.
you work with clients for other traumas and other issues?
Yeah, so I said
Okay.
transgenerational,
Okay. Okay.
all the wars, the
Yeah.
transgenerational trauma, female trauma,
Yeah.
male trauma, passed down generation after generation,
Yeah.
sexual trauma, childhood trauma, because I have myself gone through this as well. So it's also near and dear to my heart. So basically, I would say I specialize in all sorts of trauma, but as a result, what I'm really doing is bringing back the resources that was stuck in the trauma and activating all the real resources that are there. It's your own resources, right? It's our own. And my goal is not to be doing this therapy like talk therapy is done over 30 years. My goal is to help people unstuck themselves and so they can soar on their own. Like people tell me, oh, I've been doing this work and I've been dealing with this issue and working on this issue for so long, but it's still coming back. And I always say, if you try to solve a hardware program and problem on a software level, it will keep coming back. So you
Right.
have to dig deep, solve the roots, and then there will be a completely different reality that will
Yeah.
unravel, and you don't have to do much. It will happen. It will
Right.
happen because you
It's a
free.
rewiring. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, coming back to you, what would you like to share?
Well, I did obviously a QHHC session back when you were doing those, and
Mhm.
I mean, a
I
lot of
still
this
do
work.
those.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure you do.
Mhm.
I mean, it's really powerful work,
Mhm.
and I
Thank you.
found that a lot of the work that you and I did when we did the work
Mhm.
opened me up to who I am really, because a lot of the, a lot of us come here and we are like blind, right? We do things and it's like we're walking in the dark. So a lot of I feel that is like shining the light on why you're here, what elements are relevant to you now, like what happened in the past and how that's relevant to you now. Why do I do the things I do? Why, for me, I'm like a revolutionary. So I'm always
Yes, you
like,
are.
doing these things. And I'm like, why do I have this in my personality? Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
And
history
didn't
there.
didn't and didn't we discover why you have those in your personality?
Yeah, I have a lot of that going. So for me, it was about, well, the work that I'm doing now, which is bringing change. And sometimes it was a rough time for me in my past. So hopefully now it's going to be a little bit more easier. But I mean, for me, that definitely opened me up to, wow, I get it now. This is why I do the things that I do and why I'm here and what I'm meant to do.
Mhm.
So that was a huge connection for me. Huge.
I completely agree because all my traumas and dramas and the medical trauma and all of that resolved and healed brought me completely to a different state of being and living my purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for those of you who are a little bit on spirituality, like 201 or 301, it's like you go on a different timeline, you know? You transpass whatever you thought you were meant to do in confusion and start going through a timeline that's actually, targeted, laser focused and lit up, I would say. So how can people start to open up to start to heal these things? This is a very personal and internal work, and for you as well. And it took you a while to even expose, this area of your life. So how can people start to feel comfortable with this area?
Well, it took me a while to expose this area of my life, partially because I didn't know that I'm not alone in this process. I did not know until this year that this is a common thing. It happens to thousands of women. And if we are to do research, if actually medical establishment did the research, a lot more would be found out. So this is a part of it.
Right.
And also, it took me all this time to find the tools. I was in the dark. I was on my own. N- when I went consciousness seeking, my family, my friends, my classmates, my group mates, everybody around was laughing at me. You know how it's not accepted in the society, and we can talk about it later, right? If you
Yeah.
want.
Hmm.
But everybody was laughing at me, and and I had to say no to everybody and everything and go on my journey. And the interesting thing is that now, having gone through this process, all these same people literally write to me, my group mates from my country and my relatives who are laughing at me and saying very unpleasant things. They now write to me and say, Tatiana, we want to have your life at least for a day.
Wow.
Because I travel the world, I work from home, I'm my own boss, I make difference in the world, I live my dream. And
Right.
yeah, yeah, it took some guts,
No, it's
a lot of
wonderful.
them.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think it takes for people to, open up that kind of worms? I know it's very hard for people to expose that area of their lives, but healing trauma is so crucial to living your life and being empowered and being happy, even, right? So, how can they start to open up?
Well, starting to open up is digging up all these roots and causes and healing it on the deep level from where it began. And about comfortable and how they can open up, and it's not comfortable to deal with trauma. I would say living with trauma is uncomfortable because you know that nothing would change tomorrow. If you're a woman with sexual trauma, childhood trauma, relationship trauma, you will be going in circles without addressing it and feeling um, having different multiple issues, right? All the overgiving and over pleasing and loss of boundaries and trying to, be accepted and loved by everyone. It comes from often from different kinds of trauma. And living for somebody else all the time or being stuck in relationships, like the relationship patterns and meeting the same kind of man over and over and over again in life without going deep for the cause of it. And I don't know, being a healer and the relationship and constantly overgiving it and having those weak boundaries, all
Right.
of that will keep repeating. The isolation, the not being understood, I don't know, or even if we take my history with medical trauma or sexual trauma, living unplugged from that life force, this is uncomfortable. It gets better after. It just needs to be faced, and there are plenty of tools. And the recommendation is to find those tools that work for you, but deal with those issues subconsciously.
Yeah.
So the root cause is found, resolved, and you soar from then on. So it doesn't go in circles. And because of, social media and stuff, and yes, there's a bad side to it, but the beautiful side of it is that you can now find the tools. Before you couldn't. Now you can find the tools.
And the support. There's people
Yes.
who are going
And
through it,
this
who have gone through it. Yeah.
and the work with hypnotherapy, the in the way, because I don't use suggestive hypnosis. I only use suggestive hypnosis in later stages in my work with clients
Hmm.
after all the trauma is healed, because I'm not suggesting, and it's not mind control. Hypnosis is not mind control to begin with, but it's a very vice versa. It's a very gentle process. It's soul work. It's healing with your own divine intelligence that created you. It is the most comfortable thing ever. Those eyes of my clients, when I look at them, when they open their eyes after the session, I know I'm looking at their souls, like embodied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like literally. Yeah. It's part of the work.
When everything is cleared and those eyes are really the
Absolutely.
windows to the souls.
So, what do you tell people now? I mean, like you've experienced this work, I've experienced this work. There's so many people doing, other modalities, but it's similar,
Mhm.
for different reasons and things like that. What do you tell people that question the power of this work and show resistance?
Well, first of all, I don't talk to these people anymore.
Some of them were your family, I get it.
No, no, because I don't have to. I realized I learned to respect and understand their journey and accept where they are in their life and their process. And they have a right. for the experience that they're having on this planet, same way as I do, or you do, or anyone.
Yeah.
And I understand how hard it is to be totally conditioned from the age of 6 or 7, when kids learn converting and some beginning of reasoning, and the game is on. We begin being conditioned the Newtonian model of physics, that we only believe and see and notice everything that is, can be perceived by the senses. But living in the quantum model, as you know very well, and I
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's just not possible if you don't pay attention to something outside of that material, what can only be perceived by the senses. The quantum model is, if you don't pay attention, it's not there, right? So for the people to notice and begin feeling and perceiving these different levels of reality, they need to start devoting time and paying attention. And if they don't, then it's not possible, and it's just their journey. And speaking of science, the very paradox of trying to prove these things with measurements and instruments that are created for our laws of physics, to prove something that possibly exists on different laws of physics. It is the very fault of scientific experiment. It's just not possible.
Right.
So,
No,
so I don't talk to them. I just live by my example. So when
absolutely.
people now see my life, you take it or leave it. That's all.
By example, and also the people that you've helped and that you've treated and that are better and have recovered, and it's amazing work. So as people start getting into this work and start working with you, I know that you didn't have a lot of support when you went through the process.
No.
What support can people seek now? I think you said there are groups that you are part of or whatever. Like, what can they do to seek support?
Well, it depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about this particular medical trauma, I promise I'll make a separate video of it. And if anyone who's watching us had an aha moment and realized, oh, it might actually happen to me, because I had this aha moment, because I did not know from the very beginning that my issue was not caused by the developing cancer stuff, but by the surgery. If you're having this aha moment, I want you to know that you are not alone, and it is reversible, and there are ways to go about it. And feel free to reach out to me, to talk to me, to ask any questions, and I will make a separate video about it. And if we are to talk about the other aspects of it, again, I would say that work on the level of on the deeper levels, on finding any tools and methods that you resonate with, that will take an action-based approach to the negative emotional states that are there stuck in your body and energy field from those traumas and dramas. And it doesn't have to be a very big trauma and drama. People say, oh, I didn't have any, trauma in my life. And then we start digging. It can be that first teacher. It doesn't have to be a PTSD from Iraq.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the subconscious work of healing the roots and freeing up those resources, reclaiming them, re-resourcing yourself.
I love that. I love that term, resourcing yourself. We need more of that so we can keep going and use that life force for good, right?
Yes.
So this is all really, really exciting work, and I love that you're doing this. So what do you think the future holds for hypnotherapy and altered states and higher conscious modalities and this kind of work that you're doing?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for humanity. Sorry. But I really hope that
more incoming.
And I really, to reference back that Stephen Kotler's book, Stealing Fire, it gives a great overview that this shift is happening. It's real. If we don't notice it, again, if you don't pay attention, you don't know it's there. Quantum physics. But I hope, I believe, I wish people will start taking responsibility for their health and realizing that they can't give away their authority and power to medical people to heal them because, as we might know, medical system doesn't get the money from healthy people. But it's a different subject. We won't
Yeah.
go there. So
So
taking back the power and authority and saying, okay, what is my body telling me? Going into the body and the messages. The diseases and health conditions are the messages from the body. And in fact, working with medical trauma and with those sexual traumas and the issues, I've discovered like prerequisites. I've developed my own theory on why these medical conditions develop to begin with. And so when I work with women with this kind of traumas, we don't even go into the rewiring of the body first. We deal with the root causes again.
absolutely.
Because there is something in the causes that develops into that condition, and then the surgery happens. And this is actually my personal journey. And only by treating the cause, I could stop this development of these cancerous cells and heal myself. And I've been free from any checkups, I don't even go. Yeah, it's been over 10 years.
Wow, that's amazing. I love it. I think it's such powerful work. And like when we talk about the medical industry, not that there's anything, completely wrong with them, but it's only one part of the story of your body, because your body isn't just your physical body, right? It's your spiritual body, your ethereal, all these other levels, right, that you're working on. So it's important.
And they're great at treating the consequences.
The symptoms.
And if you need something to be cut off, they will do it really well. They just won't prevent anything or teach you to prevent or ask you what you're eating, what are you
hoping
thinking.
that one day that changes.
And this is what I'm hoping for. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do now, either using the work or other personal practices to help you kind of up level your own vibe and consciousness? Like, do you have a typical practice that you do on a regular basis?
Okay, for myself.
Yeah.
I would not be able to survive this intensity without meditation.
Yeah.
And so my meditation is closely tied up with self-hypnosis. And I teach my clients self-hypnosis and all these tools and tricks.
Nice.
And welcome to answering questions. Yeah. And so meditation, self-hypnosis, and my own personal private sessions with hypnotherapy, being in nature, and now getting all this amazing flow of energy by living that purpose.
Yes.
And it's a completely different reality from where I used to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you start doing your purpose and contributing and connecting in that way, it's like that it's in itself feeds you, right?
Yeah. And an interesting thing, actually, even before I got into practicing hypnosis, but I healed my the consequences of that surgery and that time when I know my body was rewired. So I would say then, let's put it this way. After I went through that reawakening of my sexuality again and got it all back and then amplified it, I know that it dawned on me, I don't know how long ago, but recently, I went from making $30,000 a year, well, details, TMI, but here it is, from 30 to about 100. Changing nothing. I haven't even finished my degree.
Wow.
So, and I
just doing this work. Yeah.
I will explain why. I started being confident. I stopped having all my energy was leaking and being wasted on all the pain and the constant frustration, the psychological turmoil and the mood swings and all of this hell I was living in as a result of the surgery.
Right.
And all of that, I got it all stabilized, and I freed myself, and those resources re-resource, and a woman and her a woman who addresses that aspect of sexuality, if a woman lives in that unplugged state sexually, and for different reasons, it doesn't have to be medical trauma. We all know that, right? it's like being unplugged from the life force. And when
Yeah.
that replugging happens and reawakening happens, we become, all the neurotransmitters are running. Dopamine is there, self-confidence is there, the
Right.
brain is functioning great, everything is there. And so that income change, I was like, whoa, I forgot it happened, but it happened. Yeah.
I love those little surprises, like little gifts that it comes with.
Yeah. Yeah. It was my old job that I had before I left it for, doing this work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. Love it. So what do you recommend people to do maybe as a regular practice, as a precursor to working with you or a hypnotherapist? Yeah.
Mm. Um,
Meditation for sure, I'm sure, because you do it regularly.
Meditation for sure, but here's the thing. I don't want to give another to-do list or a New Year's resolution kind of thing. I suggest and invite people to look at their old to-do list and old New Year's resolutions and see what was on those lists. And then say, what is in my subconscious and personality stopping me from actually making those points on the list, those new habits and the changes? What is stopping me? What
Mm-hmm.
in my subconscious stands in between me and this change? I know it's great for me. I know all this, what I wrote is good. Going to the gym is great. Doing yoga is great. Eating high vibe food is great. But if we have the inner self-sabotage going, if we have all those deeply wounded inner children going, and that self-love is not flowing, and all of that, and many, many, many other things, making that to-do list and adding to the, practice. So this is what I need to do to match, it's not going to do it. So my invitation is to see again what is blocking, what's the inner sabotage about, and healing it on the subconscious level. And the rest will follow. And you will want to go to the gym and do yoga and eat healthy and all of other things. Wonderful.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you answered my next question, which is, what do you recommend for people to do when they want to be more purposeful and find their purpose? But I think that's it, right? To start
Because it
looking.
unravels as a
Yeah.
result.
Yep.
I remember when in those 4 years of my shutdown post-surgery state, I couldn't write the papers for college. I was miserable, and I was wishing and hoping and thinking, how can I return my creativity? What can I do? What happened to me? Why and how? And now I did not even think that I didn't put a goal to return my creativity when I started the hypnotherapy work. It returned as a result, and I was like, oh, wow, I write these, I don't know, blog post kind of things in 1 second, and I don't even think about it twice.
Mm-hmm.
And the clients I work with, they actually have also very similar questions. Like, oh, I know I don't have that flow of creativity through me. And I say, it's not the goal. It is what's going to unravel. Yeah, it is a goal. It's valid. But it is going to unravel in the process.
It kind of reminds me what we were just talking about, how like the medical practice, they kind of treat the symptoms. Well, being creative is kind of like a side symptom of what you experience with the hypnotherapy. It's like a good symptom, as things unravel and things open up in you, like
It's
you
a good
actually get little
symptom.
gifts. Yeah.
It's a good symptom of being alive.
Yeah.
Really alive.
Well, we
Really
are
alive.
creative. We're creative creatures. That's our birthright, right? We're creators.
Yeah.
We were created and we are creators. So I
Yeah.
love that. So, anything else you want to add about, your practice and how you work with individual clients? How do you, what do you want to say about that?
Well, I hold their vision and I hold their goals and dreams, and I um, always think there is a solution to a problem. That's, I believe, my strength, and I go for it. Like I didn't take no for an answer. I didn't agree to living in this misery and pain and sneezing and having, I don't know,
Yeah.
my ovaries fall off. So I didn't do it for myself, and in my work with hypnotherapy, and I also do like expansion coaching, intuitive work, and mentoring in conjunction with it. I hold these goals and dreams in front of them and remind them, and we discover ways how to find and remove the obstacles. And all my work is very, very customized. There are no similar sessions. Every session, the initial session we have is customized, and all the work on is customized to the changing need of every moment, every second, every inquiry, whatever we're doing. And
How long are our typical sessions? I know when we did QHHC was a few hours, but
yeah, I usually work on like a 2 hour kind of,
blocks.
yeah.
Okay, great, awesome.
But it differed again. It's all a customized process, and I just want to keep it this way.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's repeat like what you do and what you actually help people work on and where they can find you.
Okay. So I do transformational and soul aligned hypnotherapy, and do coaching in conjunction with it. And I use expanded states of consciousness with my clients, guiding them through that, through those states, in order to heal trauma, remove mental blocks, reprogram and heal their bodies, their neurological connections in the bodies for medical trauma, working with different types of trauma, and ultimately reclaiming, returning of those stuck resources by clearing those negative emotional states and limitations, and helping them step into their powerful soul selves and living their purposes and their dreams. And our work is similar.
Yeah, in a whole different way.
But it's all about
I
those.
love that. I love that. Okay, so you can find her on TatianaVilarea.com.
I guess it's
Right?
TatianaVilarea.com,
Yep.
and Soul Aligned Hypnotherapy, Tatiana Valerea on Facebook is my page. And again, if you're one of the women who had an aha moment about the medical trauma, reach out to me. I'm here to support you in any way I can and answer any questions, just as simple as that. And anyone else who is interested, I'm looking forward to any questions. Yeah, thank you.
I love it. I love it. Any final thoughts? Any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts? We spoke about it a lot.
I know we did. What else is there to say? But come get the help that you need and expand your consciousness, right?
Don't take no for an answer, and know that working with expanded states of consciousness is the most natural state ever. There's nothing uncomfortable or scary about it. It's your soul connection and the connection to the divine intelligence, and removing all the stuff on the way.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. I honor you, and I honor your story and the fact that you brought this to light, and all the people that you're going to help with your mission. So I appreciate you, and I thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you guys for joining me again. This is Teany Hidalgo, your purpose coach, and I will see you guys in the next session. Thank you, Tatiana, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody.